Hi, Simon Trizelian here, and you can use some more of the voice of reason. As a lot of you will know, I did 20 years as a military special ops operator, mostly on the covert ops role with British intelligence and British special forces. So I saw a lot of what really goes on, and I wanted to talk today. A few people have been on to me about what's going on in Lebanon, which to me has probably been one of the most prestigious, high-profile, detailed, and successful counter-terrorist operations in the world. So what clearly Mossad have done is that they've what is called interdicted the supply chain. Interestingly enough, only a few months ago, Hezbollah started getting rid of mobile phones because, of course, the Israeli drones were tracking them, and they were geolocating the owners, and of course firing missiles at them when they're in cars or in bunkers, wherever it was. So they got rid of those, and they went low tech to get pagers, because pagers, can't be geolocated. They only are receiving; they're very passive. But someone somewhere got into the Motorola organization and placed what they're calling charges. They were not actually charges. These are detonators that they put in. They're very small. They're like a AAA battery, and you can wire them in very, very simply. All you need is a switch. And anyone even opening it up would look at it, and it just looks like a normal capacitor. It would just be like something silver and long. That's it. But it's called a PETN charge. We used to use these all the time. It's a detonator that detonates other explosives. So you would put that into a plastic explosive, and that's what actually detonates the real explosive. But if it's very close, it's like holding onto a firework or something like that. It will take your hand off. It will seriously injure you. And I think this is where the genius part of it is that all of those pagers obviously were then bought in bulk and issued to Hezbollah. So you know exactly who was going to get hold of them. It wasn't going to be in the general public. It wasn't going to go to, people just walking around with these things. It was going to be specifically targeting Hezbollah operators. And of course, you'd carry them around on your hip. And if you want to read what it is, you have to hold it up and read it from you on the face. So that's exactly what happened. These things were issued out to all of the Hezbollah operators, including, what is interestingly enough, the Iranian ambassador, which says a lot, and that they gave them 3 calls: beep, beep, beep. So when someone beeps you 3 times, they really want to get hold of you. It's like having a text. So all of them obviously, answered that beep, and bang, the whole thing went off at the same time. So this coordinated signal, so someone would have just sent a signal to the beepers, they would have just clicked the switch, the charge would have just gone off, and as we saw, probably 12 people died in that one, and 2,700 injured. Now, I also heard today that walkie-talkies are going off. This would have been exactly the same system, but probably they put in, it may even been a slightly bigger detonator. So we've already seen that another 14 people have died today. Obviously, Hezbollah terrorists using walkie-talkies to coordinate attacks. Now, interestingly enough, I know a lot about this because we used to do something similar. We were going to do something similar in the UK, in the Northern Ireland campaign. We used to find a lot of weapons in hides, or agents would tell us where these weapons were. And then we would modify those weapons so they couldn't either be used against us, or if they did, there would be a problem. We used to call this jarking. Okay, so most of the time, a lot of the weapons had wooden stocks. Inside the wooden stock is usually a cavity, and we could actually put in instruments into there which would indicate when the weapon was being moved. Sometimes, if we had a long enough battery, and that was a real problem back then because batteries are really, really big, so you had to really modify it to go in. But you would then be able to geolocate that weapon as it was being used, so you could stop it before a target was under attack. Now, the people at the Defense Research Establishment were looking at creating a very similar system to what the Israelis have obviously done, and that was to place in a plastic explosive charge in the butt, so that when the rifle was primed, and then the trigger was pulled, the explosive will go off. And of course, if it's there actually on the butt, you know, you're directly against the face of the perpetrator. And it was interesting because there was a lot of talk about doing this. And when I was there in the late 70s and the 80s, it was actually Margaret Thatcher, the Prime Minister at the time, who refused to do this. She said, no, this is not how the British do things. This is not how we do war. You know, we take them on face to face. We're not just going to, you know, blow them up. And so that's really what happened during that time. So we used to jark a lot of weapons. Once we were unable to do that, we used to use an awl, which is like a very long screw thread, and used to put it down into the barrel and then twist it. And you would twist it so it looked like, as you were cleaning, if you were cleaning the rifle, you'd look down and see the rifling of the barrel. You couldn't even tell. But because of this awl, what it did is slightly shift the rifling of the actual barrel itself, and that means that when they shot the rifle, that the bullet would go off probably around about 6 to 10 feet away. So the IRA would obviously think that they were just rotten shots, or they had duff ammo, or the weapon wasn't particularly great. The truth was, we'd got in there and we saved a lot of lives by doing this whole jarking thing, whether it would be electronic or whether it be modifying the weapons. But to my knowledge, we never really killed anyone with the explosive charges. We weren't allowed to do that. So these PETN charges are actually used in a number of operations. They've certainly been used by Mossad before, certainly used by the CIA as well, quite substantially. There was, I know of a certain operation where the PETN charge was placed into the frame of a bicycle. And as the person sat on the bicycle, on the saddle, that's what created the contact, and that's what set off the explosive charge, killing the terrorist. So this has been around for some time. This is the first time, though, that any nation state has used such a very successful coordinated attack. Now, you've got to remember as well, they weren't necessarily trying to kill these people, because if you kill them, all they do is turn into martyrs. You know, they become a martyr, you do the funeral, and that's it, move on. But what they've done is that they've injured them, okay? They've taken their eyes, they've blown off hands, there's all sorts of things that have gone on that we're learning about. And this means that those people are out of commission. And it also means that Hezbollah is going to use vital resources now to either rehabilitate them, look after their families, but they're not going to be of any use. And this is sometimes used as a strategy in war, where it's actually much more effective against an enemy to have an injured person which needs to be evacuated either by helicopter or truck, or putting other people in danger to get them out of that battlefield situation. It's much more powerful to be able to injure a combatant than to actually kill them, because if you kill them, they just get left. So all in all, it was a very highly successful operation, and I hope it leads more to peace rather than an escalation. I mean, invariably, I mean, it's escalated anyway. These guys are sending 150 missiles into Israel sporadically anyway. They're impacting children's playgrounds. They're harming civilians. You know, so at the end of the day, you know, it's like play stupid games, win stupid prizes, and that's the way it is. So that's all for me, Simon Trizelian. Out to you. Take care. Bye-bye now.